Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this graphic and they want just the horse. And when I first looked at it, I said there's really no way because there's too many background colors. And if you look, this thing is huge. It's 56 by 42. We can resize it later. So with it selected, you got to have it selected. Go to your crop tool and we're going to crop out the majority of it and then hit crop. By having it selected, everything else on your page stayed. I've already done it. It came out quite nice, surprisingly. So now what we're going to do, we're going to reduce it. And I'm just going to take one of the corner handles and just reduce it. So it's like 3.8. I've set my nudge factor on 4. As always, I take and make a copy of it, hit the plus key on the keyboard and move it over. Just so I can see what it looks like later, I'm going to go to Trace Bitmap Outline, Trace Clip Art, like I normally do. I'm losing some detail here in just a second, but what I'm going to do is when it's through, I'm going to bump up the detail. That's actually pretty good, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit more. And then it's going to take the process and do it really quick. So we've got it done. I'm going to move it out of the way. And I am going to go to arrange and group and ungroup it. But then I'm going to look at it in wireframe. And, well, you know what we could do since we ungrouped it, we could click on the black and move it over. And there's all the garbage we need to get rid of. So now I'm going to look at it in a wireframe. So I'm going to go to view wireframe. Any line that's not touching, I can just take my virtual segment delete key and delete. If it's touching, like that jockey's hat, I can't delete it. You need to make sure you get it all. I'd go ahead and go around the whole thing, and that worked. And just one more line. So now what I'm going to do to get the jockey's head back, I'm going to take the 3-point curve line, and I'm going to go, let me zoom in here. 3-point curve line, I'm going to go from like right there into right there and put a little crown on the top. Now, because nothing else is really touching that I can see, I'm going to take my Smart Fill tool, set on black, and I'm going to fill that in. Now I'm still under view of wireframe, so I'm going to go back to a hint, and I've got a leak somewhere. So let's back up here. Well, I went back too far. Let me go back just one. Go back to view, wireframe, and where is our problem? Whoop, I cut. His hoofs aren't. Tell you what, let's just try this. Let's just delete these lines. There we go. Now, this might be a leak right here. It's got a whoop-de-doo, and that could sometimes cause a leak. So we're just going to cut that out. And I don't see any other leaks, but because there might be a leak, I'm going to take a rectangle. And then I'm going to go back to view enhanced. And basically we're good with the exception of that crown didn't get in. You know what? I did not delete that part of his, well, it's not there. So let's draw a rectangle this time. Go back to view and enhanced. There we go. Well, let me select it, and I'm going to left click, right click. And now we can take the Smart Fill tool and just fill that in. And we have that head. So I'm going to move this over. Now, I'm pretty sure he wants to cut this out with a plasma cutter. It's pretty rough. It's real rough, but it can be done. So I like looking at it in wireframe. I'm going to go left click, no fill, right click, outline. That's not really wireframe. It's just the way it is. And I'm going to kind of look at his hoof. I don't like that at all. One thing I do know is a little bit about horses. I've had horses all my life. And I'm going to bring this up, maybe delete that node. we can play with them. Now, see all the nodes? Okay, select it with your pick tool, and then select it with your shape tool, and then select the nodes. There are 1,860 nodes. Mine, I have so much stuff going on, I'm gonna hit that arrow key and I'm gonna hit 20%. I went from 1,800 to 360 nodes. Now we need to look at it, and it didn't really change the horse too much, so we're good to go. I would then take my smoothing tool, which you have if you have X7 or above, and I just start, we need to make his ear a little longer, so I'm gonna go back to the shape tool and maybe even make it a little pointed. If you're plasma cutting, you don't want too much of a point. And then we just need to go around and clear everything up. Like, you know, his helmet looks kind of funny now, but because we smart filled, it'll stay in that shape. So we're just gonna, I'm just using the smart fill tool. And then I'm gonna do the outside first. You've got to make sure you're selected on it. And I can make my smart fill or my nib size a little bit larger. We're going to work on his tail a little bit. And just depending, and I would think if he's cutting this out with a plasma cutter, he's going to want to put a square or a circle around. So at first, I'm just going to do the outside. And I've noticed that right there, so I'm going to go in and tend to it because you don't want that so close. So I'm going to get back to the shape tool, and I'm going to grab just those two nodes and move them up a little bit because we don't want that touching. So we're going to go back to the smoothing tool. And this would be a case maybe I don't like that hoof, but I'm just trying to help him get started. So we've got and it's kind of weird looking, you know, because this is his mane, which is good. Now there's two things you could do. We could go here and go to range and break the curve apart and just get the outside and move it out of the way. And now we just have the interior part. So now when we use the smoothing tool, we're not going to affect those. And because it's a plasma cutter, you don't want sharp corners. You don't want those nodes. And because every one of them is a little bit different, you have to select it. And see, when you select it, you get those nodes. And once you've got it selected, you can just go through. I'm just kind of like swimming over it. Select that one, select that one, select the jockey part, you know, then just select all these and go through here and just kind of look to make sure you don't want any sharp edges. You don't want any, now my nib size is bigger than it probably should be, but because I'm having to select that item, I'm not affecting the other parts of the graphic of the horse. But like that, you wouldn't want in a plasma cutter. And I'm also reducing nodes because when I take those out, it'll reduce nodes quite a bit. Now, you know, look at things, and depending on how big this is going to be, take the shape tool and put these kind of further apart, just so they won't be so close for the torch to cut. And then you can go back and smooth it. You want to smooth as few nodes as possible. And I don't know if you can see the node just disappearing. Like that's a pretty sharp corner. I turn the corner. And this would be a good one to have I used to have a hotkey for the smoothing tool. So you go back between the smoothing tool and the shape tool without having to go up there. And I think we're pretty good. Now we can bring the outside back and kind of look at it. And, you know, if this is going to be quite large, now I'm going to fix this one hoof with the shape tool. Maybe make this a little straighter. And that, you know, it's a graphic. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'd actually maybe kind of put that up. There you go. That looks a little bit better. There's not really a hoof there. This could be an outstretched hoof. You know, the back hook. Now let's work on the tail itself a little bit. Maybe just grab some nodes and make his mane a little longer. Let's take out these two nodes. See, by taking those two nodes out, let's add another one. and then just kind of thicken that up. That doesn't look too bad. And now go back to the smoothing tool and just kind of smooth this up. And his back, still a little bit rough. And I think we're good. Now look, if we select it all and select it with the shape tool, now we only have 43 nodes. And that's pretty good on that side. And then depending on how big this thing is going to be, I'm going to think it's going to be a lot bigger than that. Let's say it's going to be 20 inches across. So with your ratio locked, just type in 20, and there's your graphic of your horse. The horse, you know, this is, his head looks funny, but you know, he's got a bridle in his mouth. There's a lot of, now see, I made my graphic a lot bigger, so now my nib is a lot smaller. I put it on 1 now, and I'm just going to kind of smooth out a little bit more. That's a pretty cool graphic. I'm almost 100% sure I don't have a leak, so I'm not going to use the rectangle. I got my other horse in there. And let's take the Smart Fill tool on black and just fill that in and take away the outline. Of course, for plasma cutting, you will want the outline. And if you move your Smart Fill away, your outline is there. And this is what the metal is going to look like. And that's not too bad. I'd maybe smooth up his rump a little bit more. Other than that, I don't see any problems with it. That's a pretty cool graphic. Anyway, I hope that helped him a little bit. Thank you for watching.